welcome to episode 6 of the Project Bag podcast, a podcast about living the craftiest life possible, making all the things. There's some knitting, some sewing, some baking and general nonsense. This week I've also got just a little bit of wool piggery for you. I mean, move aside at the trough, folks, compared to what I've got down for there for you today. Goodness me. My name is Gemma and I am coming to you from my home in Kent, where I live with my husband and our two gorgeous cats, Archie and Kit 9. I am so pleased that you have chosen to spend a little bit of your time with me today, and hopefully you'll enjoy what I've got for you. Oh, it's taken me about 6 times to record that intro, and I've actually got 20 minutes into the podcast and just scrapped the whole thing because it was just so nonsensical. So we're going to have another go. It seems like I've had 2 weeks off and I'm a complete newbie all over again. It's like the first time I tried to do the podcast. So here we are, and we're just going to go for it again and see what happens. Can I start by saying thank you? Thank you so much to all the people who've started following the podcast recently and hitting subscribe. I've been seeing my numbers go up, and it's not about numbers, but it's what it represents. And what it represents is that actually you guys enjoy spending time with me and actually would like to see more, and that's such a compliment to me. When you start something like this, you're not sure if you've got anything to add, anything to say. Certainly can't begin to imagine people willingly coming back. So it's really nice, it's really lovely to have you here. And also to those of you who started watching and have started at the beginning, I mean, I'm only 6 episodes in, so going back to the beginning doesn't seem so much of a slog as it might if I was 100 in. Some of you have reached out and left me such beautiful messages, either on the channel or through Instagram or through email, and I just want to say thank you. They mean so much to me. Your kindness, your support, your kind words, your love when you hear about my daughter as well. That's just really lovely. It means a lot. Thank you. If you are a new viewer checking out the podcast for the first time, welcome. If you are a returning viewer, then well done you. You've got stamina, and I'm really, really pleased to have you here. And if you have come to me from the lovely Amy, then welcome. I hope you enjoy your time with me too. So I'm going to start by giving you a rough outline of what's going on in this week's podcast. There is so much to talk about that it could be a rambled mess, so I've written a bit of an outline. I'm just going to run you through what we're doing this week, okay, so you know what to expect. We are going to start by, first of all, telling you where you can find me. Then I'm going to tell you who the winner of the Feels Like Summer KAL is and show you what they've won. So we get to have a little look at that, a little celebration, which is nice. Then I've got some pre-Perth, during Perth and post-Perth acquisitions to share with you. There's been a bit of wool piggery. Finished objects, I have a couple, not many, but I have a couple. I have some new KALs to announce, and I'm going to finish up by talking about Perth. So hopefully not too busy, hopefully not too jam-packed. I do want to try and keep this to under an hour, so we shall see how it goes. So podcastery thing, my mug today is actually my husband's mug. It says Quidditch Team in Training. It's one of my favourite mugs. It's his, but I've stolen it. It feels really appropriate today because they talk about finding your tribe. You hear about podcasters saying that quite a lot, and it really does feel like I found mine this weekend. Wowzers. Just wow. I mean, Perth is going to come later, but I think what you'll find with today's podcast is that all roads lead to Perth. I'm probably going to mention it every second sentence, and you know what? I'm not going to apologise for that. Not going to apologise. You just have to bear with me. So yeah, I mean, Harry Potter is kind of important to us as a couple, but today I kind of felt like, yeah, I've got my Quidditch team going on here. I've found such amazing people who've made me feel so welcome over the past 10 days. It's just bananas. It's far beyond anything I could have expected, and oh, so much emotion involved. But we're going to leave that for later. In my mug is I don't know why I'm showing you my mug again. 2 weeks off and I've forgotten everything. Have I said that already? Probably. Oh well. This is me. If you've come back, you know what to expect by now. It's fine. It's fine. It's a Tassimo Bailey's flavoured coffee. It does have caffeine in it. You know, hold on to your seats, guys. This could be a bumpy ride. yeah, it's I kind of feel like I need it today. I was intending to come back from Perth, there we go again, and try and be super healthy because I'd drunk coffee and I'd eaten cake and oh my god, the tablet. The tablet, oh, it's good stuff. And eaten well and just not really worried about anything, and I thought I'll come back and be super healthy. But I've been on such a festival high since the weekend. I've not slept brilliantly. I've had a couple of stressful things going on this week as well, which I will touch on briefly at the end as well. It's not negative, certainly not the bits I'm going to share with you are negative. I'm not going to do any of that. So yeah, and today I've had a manically busy day because my life is going to change very dramatically next week. Again, talk to you about that later. This is frustrating yet. It's quite funny because Amy said to me that I was a proper human being for parking the car, reverse bay parking, or you're a proper human. I kind of don't feel like I deserve that title because this human has got to nearly 6 o'clock in the evening having consumed nothing but Jaffa cakes and ginger beer all day. Don't think that counts as being a proper human. So I haven't eaten properly, but what I have had has been high in sugar and I'm about to drink caffeine. So cheers. Here's to a fun Friday evening. I don't normally drink on the podcast, but I am having some because it is getting cold. Because I've already, and it's my last one. It's my last caffeinated one. And I intend to enjoy it with you. Right, so where can you find me? If you fancy following this hot mess, then you can find me on Instagram. I am most active on Instagram now. Last week I would have said I was most active on Facebook, but the world has changed. It's tilted on its axis and it's all about Instagram now. I've worked out how to do stories and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. Here's my Instagram tag just down the bottom here. And by all means, if you'd like to follow me, I would love to have you on board. That'd be great. I am on Ravelry. I am still in the process of working out how to work it beyond raiding other people's stashes, but I'm getting there. So I'm on Ravelry as the Project Bag UK. There we are. And there is also a Ravelry group now as well, which we've got a couple of episodes threads and an introduce yourself thread, which would be great for you to say hello in if you feel like it. And it's also going to be home to our next 2 KALs, which I've got launching, which is very exciting. I'll tell you a bit more about that later. And I've just kicked the tripod. I'm sorry. I don't mean to kick people when they come and sit and talk to me. And what else? Oh, the blog. There is a blog. The blog's different to what you get on the podcast and what you get on Facebook, and Instagram's kind of a bit of a mix of things, but I try and talk about different things on the blog. So if you fancy just sitting down and reading about something crafty, maybe a review of a book or seeing a place that I visited that is a craft place, things like that. There are recipes that go on there. There's chatter about crafting targets, all sorts of things like that. I tend to keep it quite different. Then that tends to go up on a Sunday morning. Apologies if you are a follower of the blog and you missed your blog post this Sunday. I was just too Perth. Yeah, there it goes again. We need one of those counters in the corner for every time I say Perth, don't we? That could be fun. If you're like me and you watch a podcast and let your tea go cold, take a sip of your tea every time I say Perth and you'll be fine. You'll be absolutely sorted. Yes, I think that's everything. Instagram, Ravelry, Facebook, the blog. There we are. That's where you can find me. I'm in danger of making this efficient at the moment. I'm going to start with the winner of the Feels Like Summer KAL. Now, for those of you that don't know, on the Facebook community group, the Project Bag Club, which I think I didn't actually just mention, I host craft-alongs. I deliberately call them craft-alongs. I don't want them to just be knitting and crochet. The idea behind the project bag is that it's multi-craftual, I suppose, and inclusive to everyone. And in the Project Bag community group that we've got on Facebook, there is so much going on. There's art, in painting, there's fibre arts, there's woodwork, there's some metal work, there's all sorts of things. And we had the Feels Like Summer craft along this summer, go figure, which ended on the 31st of August, so it ended on the day I drove up to Chester, and I drew winners while I was away because I wanted to pick something while I was away for the winner of that craft along. For those of you that aren't aware, At the moment, I don't reveal the prizes of the craft alongs before I draw the winner. And the reason for that is that while there's only a select few joining in, while we're still quite small, I like to try and personalise the prizes to the winner as far as possible. So last time the winner was a sewist, and she loves wildlife, and she's the maker and blogger behind Patter Jack and Tweed. Put it there for you. Gorgeous blog, I highly recommend checking it out. And so I chose for her some bumblebee fabric. I bought a metre of that and sent it off to her as her prize. So I like to try and make it personal. So without further ado, the winner, I used a random number generator while I was away, and the person whose number came up was Claire. So Claire, thank you so much for joining in. If you get in contact with me, then I will be able to send you your prizes. When I was in Scotland, I was at the Trossachs Woolen Mill. You might have seen on my Insta stories, I went with the idea of seeing the weaving, which was advertised on the leaflet, only to be told when I got there the weaver had left 7 years ago. And they hadn't updated their leaflets. Apparently they've told head office, but all right then. Anyway, there's a rather lovely shop, and in there I saw this. And knowing that Claire does crochet, I thought, well, a progress keeper could be ideal. So this is a fun thistle silver progress keeper, not made by me, picked up by me for Claire. Before I went away, I also purchased something from the Rose and Thistle Wax Patisserie. It's another independent small business. She makes soy wax melts. I think they're soy. Well, she makes wax melts anyway, and she puts flavours into them. They're absolutely gorgeous. There's the little tub with her logo, which is so cute. She's actually from Essex, which is where I'm from, and is actually an old girl of the school I taught at recently. So yeah, so I picked up this one, which is peppermint tea with all the glitter and sparkle. We love a bit of glitter and sparkle, don't we, everybody? It's called peppermint tea and it smells gorgeous. And actually, when it arrived, she'd popped a little sample melt in. It's a heart shape, not that you can really see that. Oh no, hang on. Now you can see it from the bottom, which is Parma violets. So I'm going to put that in your prize pack for you as well. And when I was at Perth, I purchased for you, knowing that you enjoy crochet, Claire, I picked this up for you. It is the fabulous Mr. G, Gertrude and Jekyll. I don't know if that's the colourway or if it's the brand. I'm not entirely sure. If you're watching and you are the fabulous Mr. G, do please let me know. And these gorgeous pinks, absolutely gorgeous. I hope you like it, Claire. I don't know if this is your first skein of Indie Dyed. I've got a feeling it is. Claire isn't someone that I know on a personal level, as in real life, but she's such a sweetheart. She's actually been supporting me for a few years now. She's been a fan of my Nursery Knits Facebook page when I had a hobby business selling things for little ones, and has supported me in that sense and been a bit of a cheerleader. So it's really lovely that she's won this, and she does the most beautiful crochet. But I thought I'd spoil you this time, Claire, with this. It is hand or machine wash at 30 and dry flat, just to warn you. It is a 75-25 superwash nylon, no, superwash merino nylon content, which makes it great for socks. I don't know if you've knit socks before, Claire, but honestly, give it a go. So there we are, one last flash of the pink. So if you get in touch with me, Claire, with your address, I will be sending that to you next week. Many congratulations for winning that one. So now we're on to pre and during and post Perth acquisitions. I know that feels like a weird way to do it, but it kind of leads on nicely from that into finished objects, into whips, because everything's going to be a bit, you know, all behind like a duck's behind this week. All in an odd order. I'm going to start with before Perth, because not long before I left, this arrived. And I'm really excited about this. It is, I picked it up on a Ravelry D stash. It is Amy's Christmas colourway Vintage Christmas. I don't know if this was from last year or the year before. I'm honestly not sure. This one was picked up on D-Stash. It's not an example of what it's normally like. It is actually a second. If Amy's not satisfied in any way with what she's produced, she labels it up as a second. And sometimes they're available, and sometimes they just go into the cat bed, apparently. One cosy cat. I know my cats be really jealous of that. But I was thrilled to pick this up from a Ravelry D-Stash, and actually I really like it. Even if there is some discoloration, I really like it. So I'm going to make those Christmas socks. That arrived just before I left. The whole thing started because I was meant to be going to Chester Wool open weekend, and you might have seen from my Insta stories or from Facebook if you follow me there that I dropped a clanger. Oh, I dropped the ball in a big way. Yeah, I was really excited, was ready, looking forward to going and squishing the undyed yarn, learning about how they spin it, learning about the different bases, maybe writing a really cool blog post, maybe picking some up to play with and have a go. I mean, you know, just for fun. And yeah, so it was a Saturday morning and I was looking it up and I saw there's a brioche class, and I thought, well, do you know what? I might see if there are any tickets still available. So I clicked on the link and it said, well, this link is no longer available. And I thought, well, maybe it's just that they've sold out. I'll check the opening time and make sure all that's sorted. And then I noticed something really strange. I noticed it said the 2nd of September. I thought, that's odd, it's the 1st today. And then I realised what had happened. I had, when I looked it up in the summer, the Chester Wool open weekend, I typed into Google, and I'm totally blaming Google for this, I typed into Google Chester Wool open weekend 2018. And what Google had done, as it sometimes does, and I hadn't noticed, is it had put a line through the 2018. So it had given me results without 2018, presumably because there were no results 2018, because there isn't one. Chester Wool were not having an open weekend this year. It was last year. And so yeah, I was a year late. Oh, I was a year late, and I'd spent this money on this hotel, B&B, and it was a really lovely B&B in North Wales, a really lovely couple running it. And I talk more about that on my vlog, which isn't up yet because I haven't got around to editing yet, but it will be. And I rang my husband and he just burst out laughing, which was fine. It was such a relief. It was such a relief, because what happened was I'd booked to go to Chester, and I said to him, I might as well go up to Scotland to see my dad afterwards because I'm only a couple of hours away. And then we'd been watching Ellie from Skein-Deer Knits. We'd been watching her podcast, and she'd mentioned about teaching at Perth, and Alan was clearly listening, who'd know, and said, oh, why don't you go along to Perth Festival? That's the following weekend. You might as well. I'll stay at your dad a bit longer, and stay at dad's a bit longer, and off you go. And I was like, oh, okay. So this whole thing happened because I was going to Chester. Only to discover I was a year late. Yeah. So what he did when he stopped laughing, I'm so glad he saw the funny side. I was really worried. When he'd stopped laughing, he said, well, why don't you go across to Manchester and go to Countess Ablaze's studio? How sweet is that? He'd remembered from a year ago that the Countess's studio was in Manchester, and he'd also remembered that, which I hadn't, that she had a Saturday afternoon knit and natter session. So I thought, okay, why not? Let's be brave, because this is taking me out of my comfort zone. I don't just go along to things, but hey ho. So I did, and I had such a lovely time and met some really interesting people. I met the designer of some incredible shawls. Yarnison is her design name. I'll put the Ravelry link here. Wow, I need to knit her shawls. I even saw one that was in process, so that it hadn't, I don't think it had even got test knitters at that point. It was amazing to see this happening. And yeah, it was really great company. People were really friendly, and there was so much pretty yarn. So of course I couldn't leave, especially discovering at the end that I was the only new person. Everybody else was a regular, and I didn't realise this. They just made me feel so welcome, which is really sweet. But yeah, I thought I've got to take some yarn with me, and I picked up this, and it is coming up incredibly blue on the screen. I don't know why. I'll try and take a photograph of it in proper light and put it in. if I can. If I can't, nothing's going to appear here. So there we are. I picked it up. It's got stellina in it. It's sparkly. It's a gorgeous kind of jadey, tealy, deep, moody green. It's tonal, so it's not completely solid. It's absolutely beautiful. On the Viscount Spark base, which is 75% merino, 20% nylon, 5% stellina. And it's going to be socks. And I picked this up because it is pretty much my mother-in-law's favourite colour. It just spoke her name to me, and I'm going to knit them into Lara socks for her birthday or for Christmas. I mean, her birthday's a week after Christmas, so you know, we'll see how I go on timing, and then that'll decide which one it is. And it was actually only when I got back to the B&B and was filming a little bit of vlog footage that I noticed the colourway on the back. Yes, that says Nightmare. Great. It says Nightmare, which, you know, you could think, oh God, can you really knit that up for your mother-in-law knowing it says Nightmare? She and I get on really, really well. We've become especially close since my daughter was born. She's been an absolute legend. So I think she'll see the funny side, to be honest. I mean, this is the woman who, when we were trying to choose our first dance songs, my husband and I, for our wedding, suggested, among other things, Devil Woman and Highway to Hell. There we are. Okay, so she can have Nightmare socks. We did actually use Highway to Hell. We had our first dance, which was neither of those ones, and we got the DJ to cut straight into the chorus of AC/DC's Highway to Hell and dedicate it to her. Oh, it was such a laugh, and everyone joined in. It got people on the floor. It was great. It worked out well. So Nightmare socks for my mother-in-law. Oh, right. What else? There is actually something else I bought. I went to, and I'm going to say this wrong, Azkaban? Azkaban? No, Azkaban's the wizard prison. I'll find out the name of this haberdasher's that's really big that way, and I'll put it down there for you. I wandered in there initially because I was trying to find cash points so I could get cash out to pay for this knitting matter before I got there. And oh my God, they've got so much fabric and they've got so much going on, and they have yarns, like commercial yarns there as well. So I thought I'd pop in for a wander on my way back. And you might recall that I had said that I was going to knit for Baby Plum, and that Baby Plum's big sister had requested blue. And I saw while I was in there, and I can't, it's got a bit of an end because I actually started it already. This Serdar Snuggly Pasta Cake, which you might remember I did the gradient blanket that I showed off in, I think, the first or second week, or possibly both. And this one is just blues, because if you remember, Baby Plum's big sister requested blue for Baby Plum. So I've got that and I've started it. It's actually cast on at the bottom, but there's nothing really to show you, so I'm not going to pick it up and include it as the whip. So I got that. So yeah, that'll be hopefully ready. Baby Plum is due imminently. Within the next couple of weeks, so I bet I really should get cracking. While I was at the Countess, I also got at the Countess's studio. I also got talking to a really lovely lady. I haven't asked if I can mention her by name, so I'm not going to, but if you are watching this, my love, you know who you are. So friendly, so welcoming. I mean, they all were at the Countess's. It was really lovely. I don't know, I kind of landed on them a bit, and I really hope that everyone was okay with me being there, but you know, everyone was really friendly. And it turns out she is starting to dye yarn. I'm just going to hold this up, having said she is starting to dye yarn. Okay? Exactly. It's gorgeous. Now, this puts me in a bit of a quandary because I can't actually tell you the name of her Etsy shop, because the reason I bought this so quickly is she was talking about the name of her shop and she doesn't like it. She wants to develop her brand and develop her identity. So at the moment, I don't know what the new name for her Etsy shop is going to be for you to find it. But I will pop back and tell you what that is when I know. I just love this. And as soon as I saw it on her Etsy shop, because I got on there straight away because I wanted to support her and wanted to see what she was about. I just love the colours in this, the way she's done this. It's really beautiful. It's come out really, really well. I mean, you could easily end up with something brown and muddish, couldn't you, like that? But she hasn't. It's really lovely. It is 75% merino, 25% nylon superwash. Doesn't have a colourway name, but it's beautiful. And I bought this, as soon as I saw this, I thought, yes, this has got to be for my Auntie Lindsay for her Lara socks. She loves pink. And this is a really vibrant pink, and I love these punches of purple, and I think that kind of brings the two of them together, Lindsay and Lara. So this is going to be Lara socks. Okay, so I started recording a bit about the things I bought before Perth and during Perth, but then I realised that actually I want to talk about the people I met and the people that I know as a result of those things. So I'm actually going to skip that, come back to it in a bit, and obviously it'll all be edited so you won't know what's happened anyway. I'm going to start with finished objects. The first finished object I don't actually have with me to hand. I cast it on for Perth because it occurred to me on Thursday that I had nothing remotely sociable. I'd actually gone to Countess Ablaze's knit night the week before, which you will now know about. Yeah, you know about, because I've already recorded that bit. So I'd gone to Countess Ablaze's knit night, the knit afternoon the week before, and had been working on my Tulameen mystery shawl knit along from Sweet Georgia, and had done a few rows, made a mistake somewhere, and spent 3 days pulling back trying to figure out where I'd made the mistake. In the end, I just frogged the whole thing and had to recast on. So I'd learnt my lesson. I wasn't going to take that. So I looked online, I looked on Ravelry. I thought, what have I got with me? Because of course, good knitter, pack my project bag before I even pack my suitcase, and I'd take an extra yarn just in case. I had a couple of balls of Sirdar Snuggly 4-ply with me, so I thought, right, I'll cast on something and give it to my friend for her little one that I was going to meet up with on the Monday on the way home. And I needed something stockinette, so what did I cast on? Yep, a lace yoke top-down cardigan. So I was in the unenviable position of having to cast on and work through the lace yoke before the Friday. It's where I was going to start doing all these knitting and nattering things. But I did it and I got it finished, and I don't have it here to my hand to hold, and it feels really weird. So I totally get what podcasters say now when they've gifted a finished object before they've spoken about it on the podcast. But here's a picture of it. Probably already is, because I just feel so awkward. It's called the Muti Lin Cardi by, I'm going to put the name down here because I don't think I'm going to pronounce it properly. I'm so sorry, my lovely. I don't want to butcher it, so I'd rather just pop it there so everyone can see it and can look you up on Ravelry. I hope that's okay. So yeah, I found it so enjoyable. I actually got it right. It was a revelation because it was top down, which I've not done before, but it was also seamless in the way it was done. So it had these little cap sleeves, but it was achieved by some nifty casting off and casting on. I'm not going to give it away, but it's such a good pattern to knit, and she's got a whole range of sweet patterns, so I think I'll be buying more and knitting more. I'd like to knit this little girl in question something for Christmas, so I'm going to be having a look on Ravelry and seeing what else she has to offer. Her Instagram is a wealth of inspiration, so she's on Instagram as well. I'll put her name here for Instagram. So I actually cast that on the Thursday evening, and I cast it off. I finished it on the Saturday at the social at Perth. So yeah, that felt really good. I then had the issue of not having any buttons, because I had buttons with me but I didn't have enough and I didn't have the right size. So it was a mad dash around Perth Festival on the Sunday to get buttons, and I found the perfect buttons with the help of a new very dear friend who I will talk about when I talk about Perth. Oh, this is getting so messy, isn't it? I'm trying to keep it all in sections, but there we are. So that's my first finished object. My second finished object is actually going to be a gift. I bought the fabric in Perth. No surprises there, because of something this person had said to me. She doesn't know that she's getting this, so we'll see. This person had mentioned something to me about a certain type of fabric, and it's a case of I saw it and thought of you. And I saw the fabric and I thought, I've got to get some of that and I'm going to make, how has it already got cat hair on it? I literally finished it 20 minutes ago. This is mad. And I've also got a stray thread that I need to sort out. But yeah, I made a drawstring project bag today in this gorgeous kind of woven fabric with contrasting. It's not actually, it's kind of like herringbone. Can you see that? So it's, yeah, it's not, it almost looks like denim, doesn't it? But it's not. It's with casings, and I've just put on this kind of creamy gold handle because it does just about pick out, you can just about see, come on, there is some creamy gold in the weave as well, in the fabric. So I've just finished that. It needs a string and it is lined in navy blue, so that's finished as well. Quite pleased about that one. And the next finished object I have isn't actually mine. It is a finished object that I've pinched from one of my gorgeous test knitters, and I had to pinch them and show them to you. These are the My Daughter socks. They are my design. They are top down, so cuff down construction with 1x1 twisted rib, and then I think a really pretty pattern. It's got cabling detail down the side and this gorgeous detail here, which forms, when you're wearing them, if I pull it slightly, these scallops across, and just a standard heel flap and gusset to make them. And I had to show them to you because they're gorgeous. I have got some other pictures of other people who are testing them for me at the minute, and it's just amazing how the same pattern can look so different but equally beautiful in different yarns. There's a bright red pair, for example, that Maria, one of my test knitters, has gifted, and there is a mustard yellow colour pair that Sam is knitting, which I've already shared on my Insta stories, which is just absolutely gorgeous. But I love how delicate it looks in this kind of colour changing yarn as well. So the pattern is in the process of being edited. I have got some changes to make. Thank you so much to my beautiful, gorgeous test knitters. There's going to be a little something heading your way to say thank you, because you have had to work a bit harder than you probably should have done. And I'm going to be releasing these in October. So the exact date is yet to be confirmed, but do watch out for that. I'm going to try and learn how to release them on Ravelry. As with a number of my patterns, there will be a portion of the proceeds going to Lara's Legacy, which is the charity I'm in the process of setting up. At the moment it's via Just Giving, and it's to raise money for Bliss. But as I develop the website and as we get through the process of setting up Lara's Legacy properly, there'll be more things that we're able to support, and yeah, I'll keep you informed of that if you would like to be, so let me know. But yeah, so not my finished object. Go on to whips now, works in progress. Oh, there are so many whips. I've got a bit of a problem. I've come home and felt totally overwhelmed, not just by the amount of yarn I bought, but by the amount of whips I've got. I took so many projects with me to Perth. There we go again. I took so many projects with me and hardly any of them got any love. I mean, I know I had a cast on and cast off. And then I cast on a vanilla sock just so I had something sociable to knit on the Sunday, because we were off out again in the evening. And I've come home wanting to cast on so many new things. There's actually a Perth cast on starting on Saturday. I'll put the hashtag down here for you. And yeah, I'm just feeling really overwhelmed by knitting, and I thought, why is that? Why is that? And actually, what works in progress have I got to show you? I've got to show you the sock. I won't show you the Tulamine Mystery Knit Along because I haven't finished clue 1 again since I had to rip it out, and they're actually on clue 3 now, so I'm going to save that for next week. It is beautiful and I love it, and I ripped it out because I made a mistake at knit day, not because of how the pattern's written. Tabitha's written the pattern absolutely beautifully. I think I spoke about that last time, but I cast on just vanilla socks, and you can see I'm just about starting the actual sock itself. Finish the rib. 1x1 twisted rib in self-striping, and I can't remember the name of the colourway, but I'm absolutely loving it. I'm using Dragon Hill Studios yarns. I wasn't going to use it because it's so pretty. But yeah, Sharon just said, just do it, just do it. And actually on the Sunday, it was all I had to cast on. And I thought, yeah, all right, this is going to happen. So that's whips, basically. And that's the only one I'm going to show you, because not a lot of the others got any love or got any progress, but it got me thinking about how many whips I've got. And wowzers, I made a list. You might have seen this on my Insta stories, but here we are. Here are my works in progress. There are 10 at the moment. And as you can see, some of them are quite involved. So we've got my daughter socks, and you might think, why is that a whip when you've designed it? Well, it's a whip because I did the first sock, wrote the pattern, sent it to test knitters. I had second sock syndrome. It wasn't even being sensible. It was just pure, I really don't want to cast a second one on because I've got new ideas in my head. It actually works out really well because the notes that I've got back from my testers, I'm now going to test the new pattern myself with the second sock. So I've got the second sock of that to do before I can release the pattern. My grandma's jumper that I am making from a drops pattern, that hasn't seen any love, so no point showing you that. Christine's Calypso cardigan, I did cast on the front panel when I was away, and I did work the rib and start working the stockinette, but I maybe did about 3 inches of that. I haven't touched it. Dragon Hill Studio sock you've just seen, I've just cast that on. The Tulamine Mystery KAL I'll show you next week when I've caught up a bit more, but again, you know, I've talked about that before. Then I've got 2 test knits on the needles as well. I mean, the Ella actually isn't on the needles yet, I've just swatched for it because I had to order the yarn, but the Aria is on the needles. Both of these are due very soon, both for American designers. The Aria top is for I can't think what her actual name is now, but she goes by the Drunk Knitter, and she's just setting up as a knitting designer. She's just about to release her fall collection, which is very exciting. Gosh, the woman's a machine, I tell you. She knits like, whoo, smoke coming off her needles. And she's just chunking out designs. It's amazing. Ella is another Shearwas-Scholten. Probably not said that correctly. You remember I designed, no, I didn't. Emily designed it. I test knit it. The cardigan, Sattler Cardi, that's being released by Expression Fibre Arts. The Ella tunic is DK weight, a tunic with cabling, and I had to buy the yarn, so I said to her, don't put me down for it until I've actually got the yarn, but I've managed to order the yarn, so she sent me the pattern, I've swatched for it, so it's now a whip. I'm trying to read this back to front. New shawl design. Yes, I am working on a new shawl design to come out with my design collection. Haven't got anything to show you. I could show you, but I showed my husband the first bit of my shawl and I was so proud. And do you know what he said? Oh, a thong. I ask you. So no, I'm not showing you. I'm not showing you. No, I'm not showing you until it looks less like a beard and more like a shawl. So yeah, I've got the new shawl design, which I wasn't on a deadline for, but actually now I kind of am. I need to really get shifty on something. Thank you. I hate those silly little bikes that just sort of buzz along. They're so, oh, they're so obnoxious. Anyway, rant over. I can't actually read what this says. Beyond Puparium. Katie from Inside Number 23 knits this one for her little bean that is due very, very soon, and I liked it so much I thought that's got to be a cast on for one of the babies that is due shortly, so that's been cast on. And Baby Plum's blanket, which is the blue patty cake I've just shown you. Any wonder I'm feeling overwhelmed? So this brings me to talking about the first knit along that is going to happen in the Ravelry group. Okay, so if anyone's a knitter in the Project Bag Club, now's the time to get yourself over to Ravelry, sweethearts, all right? Get yourself over and join in. It's going to be, I've written it down. I was talking to Anna about this, who's Yarnisty on Instagram, and she was one of the tutors at Perth again. We were talking about feeling overwhelmed by our whips and what to do. And she showed me her Ravelry page with her works in progress. She's actually got just 2 more than me, so I feel a little bit better. And I said, you know what, I'm going to host a KAL. I'm going to host a KAL. So the KAL is going to be called the Crack Those Whips KAL. Going to crack them, get them done. any whips in existence before the 15th of September, so before this goes live, they count. You can't cast on the 15th and say that counts. So any whips in existence before the 15th of September, 1 entry for each completed whip. So if you complete 2, 3, 4 works in progress in this time, that's 2, 3, 4 entries, okay? I'm not insisting on 1 post per person, it's 1 post per finished object. I'm going to close it on the 1st of December because I'm going to choose a prize that will be something lovely to arrive with you in time for Christmas. So you get a little bit of a reward for you for having cracked those whips and got some of those off the needles. There will be a chatter thread in Ravelry. I'm going to set that up after I've finished recording this. And there is going to be a finished objects non-chatter thread. All the rules will be on there. So crack those whips, Cal, starting 15th of September, running until the 1st of December. So that's 2.5 months to get those things done. So I think that will really help. Hopefully clear the needles a bit in time for the new year. I can't believe I'm talking like that already and it's only September, but it just seems to go so fast from this point, from, you know, back to school. It's just ding, next thing you know, it's Christmas. So that's that. That's the first knit along that's going to happen. I might as well talk about the next knit along as well, mightn't I? The next knit along I'm going to be hosting is the Great Festive Cast On. If you're anything like me, you have got lots of knit-worthy people in your life and you want to knit for them for Christmas. And here's my soon-to-be cast on list. Top of the list, Ellie's Say No Mitts. You might have seen these on Instagram as part of the Tits Out Collective. Ellie released a really cool mitts pattern, colourwork pattern saying say no on it, with the post saying say no to misogyny, say no to all the issues that lots of women face. I will try and find a way of linking to the post itself down here if I can. So I'm going to cast those on. I'm actually going to cast those on Saturday because as I've said already, there's a Perth cast on. I'll talk about that more when I talk about Perth. Baby something for H's baby, baby something for G's baby. There are more babies due and I need to knit for them. And then I've got my god baby's Christmas sweaters, a dear friend of my son's Christmas sweater, my mother-in-law's Lara socks which need to be cast on, Lindsay's Lara socks which need to be cast on, which I'll talk about shortly when I talk about yarns that I've bought. And yeah, that's all being cast on. So in the interests of getting those done, I thought what better way to make sure I get them done than to have some support for you guys. So anything festive at all. It doesn't have to be a gift for someone else. It could be anything festive, all right? Even little ornaments, that's not a problem. That launches on the 1st of October. So from the 1st of October, we're going to have the Great Festive Cast On. Anything to do with festivities or gifting or anything like that. No whips, okay? It's the cast on for a reason, all right? No whips allowed. If you are doing, I can't think when the festive sock along starts. I've got a feeling that's the 1st of October as well. As far as I'm concerned, if you're taking part in other craft alongs, other knit alongs that other people are hosting, you can still enter them into mine as well. If it fits my knit along and this other person's. I mean, obviously I'm not affiliated with anyone else, but I'm quite happy for you to enter your things into mine as well. That's not a problem. Each gift knit is an entry. I've put here gifts actually, so maybe it is gifts, I'll see. And it closes on the 24th of December. And I'll be drawing prizes for it the following week or the week after, depending on when I podcast. So that's the festive cast on. So there we are, 2 knit alongs for you to join in with, which I think is pretty cool. So I mean, that's it for the creative content really of the podcast. What I've got left to talk about is the pre and post Perth acquisitions. So I think I've started talking about that actually already, and I cut it and edited. I said that I wanted to talk about Perth and the yarn I got. They kind of go hand in hand now at this point. So before I even got to Perth, I pre-ordered the Perth official colourway, which was being dyed by the lovely Amy of Stranded Dye Works. and it's a mystery, so you don't know what it is you're going to get. She only dyed 50 skeins, so it was first come first served, and I got right in there as soon as I ordered my tickets. Ordered this, and I love Amy's yarn. I've got a couple of skeins of hers. I've got her Tits Out Collective yarn, Bras Off a Clock, which I thought I'd taken with me because I quite wanted to cast that on as my sock. Turns out I didn't. I took so much yarn with me, didn't take that. Goodness knows what I was thinking. Got a couple of skeins of First Frost, which is gorgeous, and it's going to become a Birds of a Feather shawl. I've got the Christmas yarn that I showed briefly earlier, and now I have Equinox, her Perth colourway, on what was previously, or up till now, known as her Fjord base. It will now be known, I think, as BFL nylon. I'm not sure. She is renaming all her yarns according to the fibre content because she's got so many bases, and she just said she finds it might be a bit easier for people if they just can buy what they've got in them. And it's just stunning. Just look at this. It's minty green, kind of blue, with these golds and rust colours and blue, and it's just beautiful. I don't know what I was expecting, but I wasn't expecting this, and I love it. I can't wait to cast it on. This was a real contender for the Perth 18 cast on for socks, but what I'm actually going to cast on is this. Fabulous colours, and you can probably hear that they are quite scratchy. This is 100% wool from Springfield Farm. It debuted at Perth, which is really exciting. It's the farmer's first go at using his fleece from his sheep, and they just brought the two colours. They brought 50 gram balls and 100 gram balls. So I've bought the grey and the yellow. It's really, really rustic. This wouldn't be a next to skin thing for me, but I've stuck my finger in the balls, okay? And actually I can tolerate that quite well on my hands, and I really wanted to try it. I love that Perth supports people who are debuting, people who are just starting out. It's really special. And yeah, so I've bought this, and these are going to be my Ellie's Just Say No mitts, and I'm going to stop wagging this around like a wonky wheel now. There is so much down here to show you. It's really exciting. Okay, what else? I then went to Dye Candy's stall. Dye Candy is another one of the dyers that I really, really like. This is getting harder to say now because I know more as people as well, and I've seen more yarns, and so it's just like I like all the yarn. For those of you that don't know, Hutch is a dyer behind Dye Candy, and she happens to be best mates with Verity, who is Truly Hooked, and we all know how much I love Truly Hooked, and also the amazing thing that Verity did for us. And we got talking because I was wearing Verity's bag. Unbeknown to me, before she said to me, "I love that you've got that bag," she'd taken a sneaky photo and sent it to Verity. So I got a message from Verity saying, "Oh yeah, Hutch sent me a picture of you wearing my bag." So all right then. Yeah, I was looking for a red yarn that I hadn't been able to stop thinking about since Fibre East, but it wasn't there. It's called Bloodsport. I'm going to look out for it in future updates. But then this one caught my eye, and I had to have it. Just look at that. It's called Divination. I don't know how to describe it. I just think it's amazing. It's a high twist sock base. So it's 75% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and it is called Divination. And that's just amazing. I've got no idea. This is either going to be the most epic pair of socks, or it's going to be something completely different. It'll go in with something. I don't know. I really don't know. I'm just sort of looking at it next to some other colourways at the moment. But I love it. So yeah, it was really nice. She said that she loved that she had the bag. She said that Verity is her friend. And I said, well, I'm Lara's mummy. Knowing that as they were best friends, Hutch was probably going to be aware of the story behind the Lara socks. She gave me the biggest hug. Oh, Hutch, you are such a lovely, lovely person. I actually went back to Hutch's stall the next day because I started my shawl design in a skein of Brat that I bought at Fibre East. But after I took John Glenn's class, Design Your Own Shawl class, and by the time I got to the end of the class, I'd realised at that point that the shawl that I was designing was going to need 2 skeins. So I had to dash back to Hutch the next morning and picked up the last skein of Brat. It sells out like hotcakes, this one. It's gorgeous, isn't it? You've seen this before when I did my Fibre East haul, but this is a new skein. And so I was talking to her about the shawl and said, you know, I've never even knit a shawl before, and here I am designing one. And so yeah, then she's showing me exploration stations, she's talking to me about shawls that she's enjoyed knitting. And honestly, Hutch, thank you so much for the recommendations. My to knit list is ridiculously long, thank you, but I'm really looking forward to working with them and knitting them. And we also talked a little bit about spinning, because Hutch has fallen down that rabbit hole in a big way and I am fast following behind. I've started to spin, as you know, and she was recommending spinning wheels and things like that, so that was really, really cool. Really great to chat to you, Hutch. Amazing hugs. There is something in the pipeline and I can't tell you guys about it yet. I'm not going to tell you guys about it yet, but it's amazing. Hutch is incredible and you're just going to have to watch this space. So I'm going to do that awful thing and tease you. But I also bought laser. Wow, I love how that's coming up on screen. It's coming up, I don't know, I think that's coming up pretty perfectly, to be honest with you. Again, no idea what that's going to be. I just love it. I mean, it could be a 1 skein shawl, it could be socks. It's probably going to be socks, to be honest with you. I was doing the year-long sock-along box of socks KAL from Kristen of Yarngasm, but I've fallen way behind on my socks, so I might just stop and start again next year. So I got that. And I also went to, on day 1, Otherworldly Yarns. You just about see there. Gorgeous Crola. She is such a sweetheart. Oh my gosh. Lovely, lovely person. And I picked up Dark Side of the Moon. How beautiful is that? It's just gorgeous. It's on her Ophelia base, which is Poledale nylon blend. I've never worked with Poledale before, so it's Polworth and Corriedale bred together. So essentially it's a mule breed, but it's bred for the fibre that you get for the staple length. I can't remember everything she said to me about it now, unfortunately. I wish I could. But it's an 80-20 blend, 400 metres, fingering weight sock yarn. And what's really lovely, so I saw her bases, and there's Ophelia, there's Oberon, there's Ariel, there's Prospero. And I went, oh, Shakespeare. And she went, yeah, you're not the first person who said this to me. I actually named them for the moons of planets. And so I've learnt something as well. But what's really lovely with the Shakespeare link is that actually her partner writes stories to go with each colourway, inspired by the colours and inspired by the colourway name. And the stories are printed on the ball bands as well. I'm not going to read it to you because I haven't asked permission, for one thing, and also you should buy the yarn and then, you know, get the stories yourself. But it's just so beautiful. Just so beautiful. Absolutely love it. And I looked like some sort of creepy stalker because I kept going back and eyeing up her stall and staring at it. Another stall I went to, but I didn't purchase anything at to start with, because by this point I'd run out of the hard stuff, was Snuggly Stars. And Snuggly Stars is new to me. I'd never heard of Snuggly Stars before, and I'd never met Gemma before. She's been going for about a year, I think. And this was her 5th show, she was telling me. And her booth was amazing. It had all these little tiny socks on tiny sock blockers. I thought, what an amazing idea. What a great way of showing off your colourways. Because actually, as I was stood there, people were going up and going, oh, how does this knit up, please? And she said, well, if you look at this sock here, it's amazing. And yeah, I was eyeing up her Perth exclusive colourway, her limited edition for Perth 18. I didn't buy it, but then I caught it on Etsy. She put the remaining skeins on Etsy to get, and I picked up, isn't it beautiful? I picked up the colourway on Aaron, which is just super, super squishy, and I love. Absolutely gorgeous. Gem's such a sweetheart, so's her husband. And actually it arrived today. I bought it on Etsy. It arrived today with a little something extra, which I haven't opened yet. Oh wow, Oh, look at that. That's so, look at that, she says, not showing you. That's so cool. So, oh, I see. So there's a patch, which is a slice of pizza. Gem, how do I use these? Do tell me if you're watching, sweetheart. Pop a comment below. How do I, because I've never come across these before. Are they iron on? It's a bit shiny at the back. Let me know. Pepperoni pizza. Check that out. Goodness me, I could think of someone who'd appreciate that. And look, a mini skein. Isn't that so gorgeous? Gem, that's amazing. Oh, that's really sweet. Love it. Oh, brilliant. What a lovely extra little surprise. For those of you who are going to Yarndale, Gem is vending at Yarndale with Snuggly Stars. I believe I'm right in saying Hutch is as well, and I know Verity is. So yeah, loads of really cool dyers there. Get your hands on some yarn, get your mitts on some knits. And it says doors open 10 AM for ticket holders and 11 AM for pay on the day visitors. Saturday £12 advance, 15 on the door. Sunday 12 advance, 15 on the door. Weekend 19, 20 in advance, 25 on the door. So you can buy tickets there. There is a booking fee for advance tickets. 180 talented exhibitors, and it is Saturday 29th of September to Sunday the 30th of September. The details are there for you. Okay, highly recommend that you go and check it out. The other one that she's popped in here is Stitch Fest Southwest, 3rd to the 4th of November in Totnes in Devon. So if you're that way. The other thing I bought on the day was fibre. Now, considering I haven't touched my drop spindle, I took it with me all the way to Wales, all the way to Scotland, didn't touch it. I couldn't resist this. This is from Flora Fibres. I know Hutch has talked about this on her Insta stories already, on her Insta lives. It is vegan, so it's made using plant fibres, and this is sea cell, and it's hand dyed using madder, which they tell me is the root of a weed, and red cabbage. People who know me know I like my red cabbage, and it's just so soft and so beautiful. And they did say if you're a beginner spinner, it's possibly not the easiest one to start off with spinning, but I didn't care. I didn't care. It's beautiful and I love it. There we are. So those are my acquisitions from Perth. And before I talk about Perth itself, I'm just going to move on and talk quickly about baking. Last time I said to you, I was doing the Great British Bake Along, and I showed you an empty plate and joked that I'd eaten all the biscuits. This is still not a self-portrait in biscuits, but I do have them here for you. So you can see, put my hands on them, it's only me and my husband eating them. These are Grantham gingerbreads, and they're quite hollow. There's so much sugar in these. Essentially, you're making a more of a meringue than a biscuit. And they've got an amazing crunch. And just break completely. You can see the inside of them. And I did plain ones. And I also, because you're meant to do a regional biscuit with your own twist. So I thought, well, Grantham gingerbreads. It's got Grantham in the name, that'll do. And I put dried pineapple in the other ones because I'd had a salad in the summer with a ginger and pineapple dressing, which sounds really weird, but actually really works. So I'm really pleased with that. And the other make, which I haven't got to show you, but I will put on screen, was the tray bake from week 2. I am a bit behind, and I've done a lemon drizzle cake. With the Grantham gingerbreads, I thought I'd try Mary Berry's chuck it all in one method that she uses for her cakes. I love that. No nonsense with creaming the butter and sugar together first and then adding the flour and an egg one at a time. Doesn't work for biscuits. Doesn't work for biscuits. Oh, so let's move on then to general chatter, talking about Perth and all those wonderful things. It is, I don't know if you can tell by the lighting and how it's coming up on camera, but it is now pretty much pitch black. It's taken me so long to record this. I don't know if it's because I suddenly know there's a lot more of you subscribed. I've got performance anxiety or what it is, but or maybe it's 2 weeks off, or maybe it's 'cause I've got so much to talk about and don't know how best to put it and what order to put it in, but you know, let's move on to the bit now where we just sort of sit and chat. I've missed chatting with you guys. I'd love to know what you guys are up to, what you're making. Were any of you at Perth? Let me know. Join in. There's going to be a chatter thread on the Ravelry group for the episode. I'd love to hear about it. If you were at Perth, I hope you're using the Perth Yarn Fest 18 tag on Instagram, which I'm following. I'd love to see what everyone's bought. Love to hear about everyone's adventures. If you weren't there even, you know, let me know what you're up to in your crafty lives. That's really cool. So yeah, wow. So I've already said at the beginning of Stash Acquisition that things went a bit wrong for me in Chester. I did then actually get to go to Chester on the Monday. I rang up and I went, funny story. So I turned up for your open weekend, and there was this kind of pause. I went, yeah, I know, I'm a year late. But they took pity on me and I got to go round anyway, which was really cool. I got to squish the yarns, I chatted to Chris, spent a lot of time with him. He made me a lovely cup of tea, and it was a proper cup of tea, and talked about yarn bases. And I'm going to write a blog post about that, so that will be Sunday's blog post. And I did come away with some yarn to play with, so I look forward to showing you that in the future. But as you might already be aware, I had already started to get very excited about Perth, and this is quite new for me, to feel excited and positive again after everything that's happened. It was disconcerting but not unpleasant. And on one of the other podcasts, I think it was episode 4, I said that Eva, the director of Perth Yarn Fest, had shared me on the Perth Yarn Fest Instagram as a People of Perth Yarn Fest, as a podcaster, which just blew my mind. And before I went, you know, she sent me some nice messages, we were chatting back and forth, and I already had the feeling that I was going to be okay. Going to a festival, going anywhere on my own, isn't something I've ever really done. I have, as many people do, and I'm not saying this to get the violins out, it's a matter of fact, I do suffer from anxiety. It's something I think I've always had on and off. I've always kind of had the disposition where I overanalyse things, and I think about what I say and I think, oh God, did I say that wrong? And I will panic about it. But it became exacerbated after I was ill last year. And for me to sign up to go to a festival on my own at all is something that I would never do, much less to sign up to do all the social events. So my dad had said he'd come with me to the festival itself, so I wasn't wandering around on my own, which is so super sweet of him, because I can't imagine that it was particularly something high on his list of things that he wanted to do, go to a fibre festival. But I knew he'd find it interesting, and my dad is one of those people that can sort of talk to anybody, and he's a really genuine nice guy in that sense, and so I thought he'd be okay. But he very, very graciously agreed to come with me for the whole weekend and to accompany me to the dinner and knit night on the Saturday night, so that I wasn't on my own, and that was really nice. And then from nowhere I kind of got the courage to sign up for the gin flight night on the Friday. And in the lead up to Perth Yarn Fest, I was watching podcasts that I hadn't seen before that Eva had been sharing with the People of Perth Yarn Fest, and seeing dyers that I'd not seen before, because I've only been to Fibre East. Is that the only yarn show I've been to? Yeah, it is. I've only been to Fibre East, so I've been there twice, but that's it, because I didn't make Edinburgh, because I don't know, I wasn't sure I'd be able to, and then, you know, obviously Lara was under construction and then came along. So yeah, it was nice, and so I spent a few days checking it out. I came across like I discovered it. I didn't. Eva shared it, and the Tipsy Knits podcast, which is an audio podcast, that was a revelation to me. I've not listened to audio podcasts before, and it's either Sia or Kia, and I'm really sorry if I've pronounced that incorrectly. I really hope you'll forgive me. And Pip, two pals who enjoy a tipple and chat about their knitting. And if you can hear claws, that is my Mr. Kit 9, who's decided now is the moment to climb onto my suitcase. We won't talk about the fact it's not back in the loft yet. and scratch. And that noise, that strange noise, is my husband's leather gaming chair as Kit and I's getting comfy on it. So there's nothing odd going on, I promise. If you can hear strange noises that might sound like expulsions from certain orifices, it isn't. Yeah, anyway, it was really nice to listen to and to knit and listen to that. I saw the Pixel Atlantis podcast by the lovely Rosie, who is such a sweetheart. She's got such a lovely voice and tone and an interesting way of talking. She's a yarn dyer. She was exhibiting as well. So I spent some time, you know, doing that, looking at different yarns and getting sort of more excited. And then on the Facebook page, a woman called Jeanette said, oh, I'm going to be in Perth on the Friday afternoon. Would anyone like to meet up? And normally I would be the sort of person that hovered in the background and saw if anyone answered. But I went, yeah, I'll do that. I'm like, who am I? What have I done with me? I might not come across on the podcast, but I am actually really shy. So this is really unusual for me. And yeah, so Jeanette and I met up. She is so interesting. She's actually one of the tutors at Shetland Wool Week coming up, and she has a gorgeous cowl design. I'm going to send her a message and see if I can put a picture here. If I don't hear back from her in time, that's going to be really weird, isn't it? Me just going... But anyway, it's beautiful. It's in the annual for Shetland Wool Week, and she's teaching. And I could listen to her for hours. She's so interesting and has so much knowledge. And what blew my mind is, to me, I mean, I'm a southerner. I haven't made any Shetland pilgrimages yet. I'm new to colourwork. Ellie's mitts that I'm going to cast on are going to be the first bit of colourwork I've ever done. But she said that the people in Shetland themselves don't realise they're this site of pilgrimage for knitters. Like, really? You've got Shetland Wool Week and knitting retreats? You don't know? They are that humble. They take it that for granted, what they do. Which is just amazing. And she had this belt on, this leather belt, and it was leather and stuffed with horsehair. And she was saying before, you know, years and years ago, it would have been a corn cob that they wore around their waist so they could stick the end of the double pointed needles in, so they wouldn't have to put their knitting down each time. And I've said to Jeanette, please do a podcast. I'd listen to you. I really would. There's so much knowledge, and it's not a brag. It's completely unassuming. Oh, I'm not doing a very good job of describing this, am I? But I think everyone who met Jeanette feels the same, to be honest. I think lots of people met her. She's very friendly and very warm and very welcoming. But she had this massive, like 40cm double pointed needle sticking out of it. I mean, like, you know, it was a bit alarming. But she was working on this beautiful colour work, and she was talking about how no, do you know what? I'm not going to share it all because it's not really my place. But also, she does do the podcast, which I really, really hope she does. Jeanette, if you're watching this, please, you know, I've said it. The lady we met when we were in the podcast lounge with Amy and Ellie said it. Amy and Ellie said it. Wow, please do it. Please do it. Anyway, really nice to spend an hour or so with her. I didn't get to spend much longer with her because actually I had somewhere to be. Those of you who've come to me from Amy's podcast will know already that Amy's spoken about it, that I picked her up from the airport and took her to Perth, so she made it for the Perth Knit Night. And that's largely, I wouldn't have had the confidence to do that if it wasn't for Eva, the festival director, who'd been so warm and welcoming towards me, and, you know, talked about meeting up. And it was so nice to meet her. Amy, and it's going to be so weird if you are watching this to say her, and I'm obviously talking about you, but Amy, and I have told her this already, she was one of the first podcasts I actually watched. It was Tea and Possibilities first with Nikki, and Nikki referenced Amy, or I found her through recommended podcasts and things. And actually at the time I was off work with initially I signed off with exhaustion and stress, but it developed into depression, and I didn't know what was happening to me. I was off, I wasn't functioning, I was struggling to get out of bed in the morning. It took me 3 hours to get dressed one day. I didn't know what was happening to me. I was frightened. I felt really alone. My husband was obviously going to work. I'd gone from working as a teacher where I had maybe 200 people to talk to every day. You know, if I had 5 classes of 30 plus my form plus staff members plus, you know, to being on my own. And I didn't know what was happening to me. I didn't understand the nature of my illness. I'd heard of depression, but, you know, and there's a taboo around talking about mental health. But, and I've said this to Amy. I said, actually, you know, I mean, this is why it's really nice to meet her and be able to say thank you. You know, not that she would have known she was doing this for me all those months ago, but by having the regularity of her podcasts, it gave me some human interaction where I wasn't getting any before. I could kind of sit on my bed, and initially I couldn't even knit. I was just watching her and Nikki, and then Kristen. I discovered Kristen from Yarngasm, and between them, yeah, it got me through. And there is still a taboo about talking about mental health, but Amy was one of the first people to help me realise that I wasn't alone, and that it is okay, and I can be okay again. I'm getting a little bit emotional saying this. But yeah, so it was lovely to meet Amy and be able to say that to her and say thank you, because it can be incredibly isolating. Whew, it's getting a bit deep, isn't it? Point is, right, if anyone of you out there are suffering from anxiety or potential depression or any mental health issues at all, you are not alone, okay? You really aren't. The statistics don't lie. I mean, they say 1 in 4 people in their lives will have some form of experience with mental illness. And it doesn't mean you're strange. It doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. You're not broken, okay? And you're not alone. And what I've found is that this knitty community, and I talked earlier about sort of finding your tribe, is full of the most genuine and warm and wonderful people. It's a real pleasure and a privilege to be a part of it, where everyone seems to be really supportive. I mean, I know everyone here is human. There's going to be the odd occasion where someone says something to annoy other people. All right, we're not superhumans. But it does seem to be generally very supportive. And so, yeah, talk about it. Talk about it. I mean, Verity, who is truly hooked, wasn't at Perth. She was running the Great North Run to raise money for Mind, the charity for mental health. I mean, how amazing. I downloaded the app and watched her virtually cross the finish line, watched her number tick over and it say that she'd finished, which is just amazing. Well done, Verity, you're absolutely incredible. It was actually Hutch that reminded me about the app, so I managed to download it, and I was like, have you seen it? She's nearly finished. So yeah, there's the two of us sort of keeping an eye, which was really cool. But yeah, as I was saying, everyone's sorry, I had a warning coming up. Everyone's really supportive in that sense. So yeah, picked her up and it was great because it meant I didn't have to go in on my own to knit night, which was handy as well. Really interesting conversation. And Amy, it was just so wonderful to meet you. You are the ideal car passenger. Really, really interesting to talk to you. And thank you so much for being so warm and welcoming and, you know, not leaving me on my own, because we walked in a little bit, you know, fashionably late. And knit night was amazing. They were the most incredible mocktails, which were really lovely. Apparently the gin was really good too. You could either have 3 gins and tonics with your ticket, or you could have 3 grown-up drinks. I only had the 1 mocktail, but to be honest, it was so sweet and so potent, and so, oh, it really was a grown-up drink. It could easily have been alcoholic for all I knew. Yeah, and I had the absolute pleasure of, by association, meeting Tracy, who is Nora George, and Ellie, who is the lovely Skein Deer from the Skein Deer Knits podcast. And Tracy very, very kindly helped me sort out my Make One rights, because I was having trouble with them and ending up with a little hole in my knitting, as I hadn't done that before. I hadn't done that stitch before. So thank you, Tracy, for that. That was lovely. And then Eva, the festival director, gave me a big hug, welcomed me. It was so nice to meet her face to face, and then absolutely mortified me by introducing me to everyone at large. And I just went red. So embarrassed. But I needn't have been, because everyone was so warm and welcoming and lovely. And And there were some weird moments where I sort of took a picture of my mocktail, put it on Instagram, and someone who sat behind me liked it. And I'm sort of looking around going, I know you through Instagram, but I don't know who you are, and what do I do? I was like, oh. It's really weird. But no, it was lovely. So the gin night was nice, and then the festival was amazing. And I'd spoken to Corolla a bit on the Friday night at gin night, not that I'd known who she was. And Aileen, there we go, Aileen. There's your mention. That's another podcast ticked off. Doesn't matter that hardly anyone watches this one, right? You're in it. Aileen had brought the most incredible homemade tablet. I mean, sugar rush, but it was gorgeous. Oh, so good. So yeah, that went down well. Thank you very much. And it was popular with everybody. Yeah, and who else was there that I kind of met? And it was Liz and Linda and Anna, and oh, it was wonderful. John was sat there, not that I knew who John was at that point. I was in this really weird thing where I was meeting people, but because I haven't been part of the yarny world for very long, I didn't know who everybody was. So I was just chatting away. Case in point, I met Mana, who is the designer behind the new Sinister Cardigan that is taking the knitting world by storm. It's not even been released yet, but the hype is like, woo, everyone's amazed by it. So I was in the hotel, sort of logging my car for the car park, and I saw this lady wearing a Sinister Cardigan, and I just reached out and went, oh, that's amazing. I've seen Verity test knit this, so it's brilliant. And she said, oh, thank you. And something in the way she said thank you, I was like, oh, you're the designer. I was so embarrassed. But I needn't have been, because she's absolutely lovely. And we got to spend a bit of time together and talk cats, and oh, wow. And she helped me find the buttons for my Mutilin cardigan that I gifted to a little girl on Monday. So on Sunday morning she helped me find those, which was really, really sweet of her. And I did also buy her pin, but it's somewhere else, with her Sinister Cats on, saying it's the final cast on. And I bought it on the Sunday because I'd seen it on the Saturday and then had it's the final cast off stuck on my head. It might have been cast off or cast on. I think it was cast off. I don't know, but that you'd celebrate the cast off, wouldn't it? Wouldn't you? So I had that going round and round and round in my head. So I had to go and buy the pin. Clever girl. Oh, it's just amazing. And then the meal on the Saturday night was really good. It was really funny because obviously we all sat down, got our knitting out, starters arrived, knitting went away, starters were cleared, knitting straight out again. And had a really interesting conversation. That's when I met Anne, who's Yarnesty. That's when I met her properly. She was tutoring as well at the fair. And she's from Sweden, and she very kindly helped me with some of my Swedish pronunciation. For example, kjol, which is shawl. And Anne, if I've butchered that, just let me down gently, okay? I met the lovely Linda, who's Woolly Whiskers, and my cat's meowing to get let out. Oh, so many people. I told myself I wouldn't do the whole naming names thing because I'm going to miss people out. But honestly, everybody who I met, you're wonderful. Thank you so much for making me feel so, so welcome. I have left with so much more than yarn. I have left with a newfound self-confidence that, to be honest, I've been lacking. Inspiration, a Ravelry queue as long as my arm because of all these things I want to cast on, and just feeling really warm. It was a tough weekend, I'm not going to lie. I was far, far away from my husband. It was the longest I'd not been able to visit Lara for, but I was so well supported. And Eva, I've thanked you in person, I've thanked you on Instagram, and thank you again. Thank you for bringing me into the fold. Honestly, what a pleasure. What a pleasure to be with such wonderful people who really made the whole trip worth it. All that time being away, the complete failure at going to Chester Whirl, brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And I got to hang out with them as well on Sunday night for a bit, which was just lovely. And at that point I was so tired, I wasn't even knitting. I was just sat there with my alcohol-free Copperberg cider, and I was just sort of sat there looking around at them all, listening to the conversation, and just thinking, yeah, I'm lucky. I'm really lucky to have been welcomed into the fold by such wonderful people. And yeah, and so then I had the pleasure on Sunday of taking Amy back to the airport. Great conversation, and just I'm in danger of waffling now, but to everybody I met, to everybody I spoke to, thank you. Thank you so much for being your wonderful selves and making me feel so welcome. And it's not, the fun's not finished, because Pip, who is at Ramsey Baggins on Instagram, who is one half of the Tipsy Knits podcast, has come up with a genius idea of having a cast on, a group cast on Saturday for something that we bought at Perth. And if you didn't go to Perth, you don't have to miss out, because someone also suggested that if you have a look at the vendor list of the people that are at Perth and you have something in stash that you can cast on to. So we're all doing a cast on. There are hashtags, which I'll put down here. As I said, I'm going to cast on Ellie's Just Say No mitts, or no, Say No mitts, in these yarns here. My first colour work, I'll let you know how I get on with that. And yeah, the fun's continuing on Instagram, following the podcasts, following the hashtags. Absolutely brilliant. I kind of feel I need to talk about the festival itself. The actual festival itself was also brilliant. It was in the Dewar Centre, and I think it was on the ice rink, to be honest. Obviously it was carpet, you know, and there were so many new to me dyers. So I mean, obviously Hutch was there. I've heard of her before, bought her yarn before. Ching Fibre was there. Watercolour and Lace was there, who I've bought from before. For the Love of Yarn was there, who I've seen. I don't think I've actually ever purchased from them before, but I was very tempted. Yeah. But there were so many new ones as well. Otherworldly Yarns, Game of Crafting, Miss Lamb. I'm gonna get that wrong. I'm so sorry. Oh. Flora Fibres. There was, and oh god, I can't remember the name. I'm doing so badly at this, but I'm going to put the name here, with her own yarn from her own sheep. And I'm going to put a picture here of the Shetland lace being knit up. Isn't that beautiful? And she's doing an experiment where she's hand dyeing some as well, hand dyeing her own yarns. Snuggly Stars I've spoken about already, absolutely gorgeous. And yeah, it's just been an absolute pleasure. So to everyone I've met, everyone who made me feel so welcome, all the yarn I bought, all the yarn I didn't buy, just wow, what an amazing atmosphere. In fact, there were a lot of people I was speaking to who all agreed that there was a real community feel to this particular festival, to Perth, and I think that's part of that. I think that's what makes it so special. It's so much more than just an exhibition of vendors and people going around and buying stuff. There are real conversations going on. There was great space. I don't know, I mean, I've heard, because I haven't been, but I've heard that at Edinburgh, if you want to stop and knit, you actually have to leave the venue and go to another bit of the venue, so you have to leave whereas in Perth, there was a big seating area kind of in the middle where people would just sit and chill and knit, and people they were knitting and nattering. There's a cafe bit upstairs. John, I haven't mentioned John's class. I took the shawl class, Design Your Own Shawl by John Glenn, and it was so interesting. I walked in absolutely convinced, because I've never knit a shawl before, sorry, absolutely convinced that I wouldn't be able to come up with anything. But before the lesson was even an hour in, he had talked us through his process and shown us actually that we all have a shawl within us, and actually the shawl that I came up with is very, very special to me. I'll talk about that more later on, because there is going to be more talk about that another time. It was a really interesting class, John. Thank you so much for putting that on, for being so interesting, for all the materials, for all the support, for your patience. Brilliant. And for the hugs. I got so many hugs this weekend. It was, as I said, it was wonderful, but it was also tough for me, but I wasn't alone. I was well supported, and I'm so grateful to you all. So thank you. In other news, one of the stressful things that happened is I had a job interview this week. I should have been ending my maternity leave in November. from February, from when Lara was born. And so I'm looking to sort of go back to work while I'm running the project bag. I had a job interview yesterday and I was successful, so from next week I will be teaching again in a secondary school. As part of the interview, I was in a class, I had to teach a class of Year 7, and I really enjoyed it, and I realised just how much I've missed being in the classroom. So I don't know what that's going to mean for the podcasts. I've got every Friday afternoon off, so what I think is I'm probably going to record the podcasts on a Friday afternoon and upload them on a Saturday. Last week's one went up on a Saturday just because it took 36 hours for it to upload from Wales. And my husband said to me when I told him about Chester, he said, well, it's not uploaded yet. Why don't you delete the podcast, edit it? And no way. It's been going for 30 hours and it's 70% not happening. The shop is open again, the Etsy shop, and I have some new additions. Little lammies. This is actually for a set of 5, but I do have 15 more in there. You can buy them singly or you can buy them as sets of 5 and you effectively get one free. Also new to the shop, coming soon. Is that focusing? Little pumpkin stitch markers. Now, face or no face, let me know, because I haven't drawn faces on those. And I've also been playing around with making ghosts. I mean, this looks like the ghost of a comma. Or an apostrophe, you know, that's been abused. Perhaps tomatoes spelt with an apostrophe. Or there's this type. I mean, I'm only playing around with these at the moment, so yeah. I'd love to know what you think of those. I'm happy with the pumpkins. I'm not sure about the ghosties yet. So that's it. That's it. That's the whole thing. This is going to be heavily edited. There's probably going to be lots of jump cuts. Because it's been 2 weeks since I've podcast and there's so much to talk about and there's so much rambling, and I may just record the whole thing again tomorrow. Who knows? We'll see. But yeah. Whatever you're doing, wherever you are, I hope you're well. I hope you have fun with your crafting, and please do join in the groups, join in the knit-alongs, and I hope to see you again next time. Bye.